since we're talking about woke ideology, there's one topic that I really want to talk to you about, which is Oberlin College.
Oberlin.
Oberlin College. Yes. So there is this historic bakery.
Yeah, I know, and they won in court, and Oberlin has to pay $50 million.
Hold on, let me tell my subscribers what's going on. So, Oberlin Bakery, historic building that was there for hundreds of years, if I'm not mistaken.
150 something.
150, and then a student, which happened to be a person of color, decided that he started shoplifting. Now, the owners of the bakery apprehended him until the police arrived, and the university professor found that to be over the pale. No one doubted that he shoplifted. The problem was that why isn't the bakery just allowing for the
over,
yeah, and this is by 2016. It's not even
November 2016, one day after Trump's election.
Yes, and the professors instigated the students. There is a professor that is quoted for saying he will unleash the students on an economy professor, which was the only professor in that university that was claiming that this is madness. So the university professors, they agitated the students. They helped them spread the pamphlets, leaflets, armed them with dangerous rhetoric, to the point where the owners of the bakery were harassed, having a brick thrown through the window. One of the owners of the bakery was an elderly gentleman, and he was so stressed out that it aggravated his health. So eventually the bakery decided to sue. The university, they lost the first lawsuit. They appealed. They lost the appeal as well. And now, after they have to pay reparations, they said that they would do it again. They're completely remorseless. So how do you view this situation?
Well, that's where I would see an opportunity. Oberlin is, at the end of the day, is in Ohio, which is a purple-reddish state. It's Oberlin is a very deep blue small dot, but the overall state is quite red. I would view it as an opportunity. The law in the state of Ohio should be changed. So in situations like these, because the jury tried to award the bakery to award them much more reparations. It was the initial settlement by the jury was like around $70 million. But then the Supreme Court of Ohio said, well, yeah, I'm sorry, the law only permits as much as, I think, $38 or $39 million. So that's the amount of money that Oberlin has to pay. And I'm like, I'm sorry, Oberlin has an endowment of $1 billion. So I would say I would change the law to stipulate 10 or 15% of either the endowment or the turnover, whichever is bigger. That's how...
So we would destroy wokeness in academia by doing this.
2 or 3 such lawsuits where they would have to pay hundreds of millions of dollars. That's the end of wokeness for 2 or 3 generations.
Because the thing with wokeness is not the ideology, is the action. That's the problem, mostly.
Yeah,
and most of the action is, as we've seen here, you can sue it in a court. You can get reparations for it.
Yeah, but if the reparation is 2 or 3% of Oberlin's endowment, of course they're going to be remorseless about it, because they litigated it for 6 years until most people forgot. So most people who've seen the initial scandal don't see the follow-up of Oberlin College eventually losing, because people have a memory of the jellyfish or of an amoeba.
This is why I had to reiterate what the lawsuit was about.
Yeah. So there's that. And then there is the situation that, if a college has to sell a portion of its campus and fire half of its personnel just to stay in business after the woke lawsuit, next time there will be no wokeness in that college for at least 100 years. And other colleges will take note and will voluntarily turn down the volume of their wokeness if that happens. And if it happens with 2 or 3 or 4 colleges over a span of a decade, it's the end of wokeness.
But what about suing the people responsible rather than the institution?
Well, in the case of colleges, you have to sue the institution because,
I mean, if you have evidence that a professor themselves instigated the students, and...
Yeah, but the professor cannot pay for much reparation. Yeah, sure, you're going to maybe financially ruin them, but they eventually transfer to another college into another state, and it's very hard to enforce it. But Oberlin College will not move outside of Ohio, state of Ohio, so it's much easier to enforce it. Also, you can grab more money from them. I mean, the professor will never be able to pay $39 million.
Yeah, probably the bakery doesn't really care that much about stopping wokeness as much as they care about getting financial.
Yeah, recovering all of their losses that they incurred as a result of this incident. Yes,
the prestige, because they were slandered in the paper. They were like the racist bakery that has
they
the
were
audacity.
accused of being a historically racist establishment, which is ludicrous because when the bakery opened, it was after Oberlin became the first college in the United States that allowed black people to join. So, in 1890, if you wanted to, if you really hated black people, you just wouldn't open your bakery next to Oberlin College, which was the only place which would accept black people. So, the slander of them being a historically racist business is unfounded, and good for them for having sued. Too bad the law didn't allow a much more serious financial punishment, because that's usually how you end it. If it starts costing them money, they will voluntarily dial down the volume because they don't want. Again, it's essentially the reverse strategy, because that's what they tried with various right-wing groups.
Bakeries and
let's either sue you into oblivion or try to censor your PayPal account or whatever. Basically, affect their pocketbooks, and that's how we win, right? Sometimes it works.
I mean, affecting the paybook account is not because they're concerned that companies lose their prestige by giving money to some organ. No. Like it's a punitive measure designed to silence and to make sure that the opposition doesn't have a chance to speak.
Yes. Then for the same reason, I'm saying that the laws in such situations where colleges enable violence, censorship, slander, and so on, which Oberlin did all of them, the law should stipulate a minimum percentage of either their endowment or their turnover, whichever is bigger. And yes, the purpose is to be punitive. The purpose is to be punitive, not necessarily to compensate the victim. Although, of course, that's
the victim would enjoy being targeted by.
It's a very happy byproduct, but the purpose is to be punitive. Yes, I mean that's in the U.S. legislation. It's even called punitive damages. I mean, it's not like is there a secret or something. So yeah. Oberlin will not change unless the people inside it change. And unfortunately, as extreme as it sounded in 2016 when I made the video Abandon Universities, I stand by every single word that I said 6 years ago. This is the solution, just abandon universities. Those places cannot be reformed unless you sue them into oblivion in this kind of way, but with the legislation that I propose. But
all universities, I mean, even the ones like STEM and...
MIT is fully woke. MIT is fully woke. Just look it up. Look up MIT feminism. Look up MIT male privilege. You don't have to believe me.